What's going on, everybody? It is September 12th, 2023, and we're doing a live Q&A here. So what I want you to do is I want you to come on here. Hopefully you're one of the people who hit this thing live, and then we can start answering your questions. So as you come in, let me know where you're coming from. Um, and yeah, let me know what questions you have. Also, if you want, you can tell me what kind of bike you're riding. Yeah, so that'd be super fun. Let's talk about what's going on around these parts. So, in case in case you don't know, we have a sweepstakes going on. We have count them, two KTM dirt bikes that I am giving away. It's the 2024 KTM 300 XCW and the 2023 KTM 250 XC. So some pretty cool stuff going on with those KTM two strokes. It's kind of the second generation of the KTM fuel injected bikes, as many of you know. And it's pretty fun. I have been the last couple times out. I actually rode I have a 24 300 XC, and it's very noticeable. Now the power differences is way as far as how the power is delivered between the XCs and the XCWs. And the XCW is definitely geared more towards like softer, more gentle power and better traction. Not that there isn't power there; it's just geared toward more traction. Whereas the XC bike is geared towards just like, hey, let's just in your face raw power, go fast. So a couple different things, that they're for. I wanted to show you. So this is one of my this is I made two new shirt designs for this sweepstakes. This is the Ride More shirt, and it's got the little all it has is Dirt Bike Channel right here. That's the only place that it really has any branding, is just the little thing on the sleeve. It says Dirt Bike Channel here. These shirts sold out super quick, and so now I'm allowing back orders for them on my website. And what I wanted to say is these are the best shirts I can buy. They're the softest shirt. This is the best t-shirt I've ever owned. So just know that there was a couple times ago I had some t-shirts that were still expensive and nice quality shirts, but they were 100% like run spun cotton, and those some people didn't like them as much, and I can understand why. This shirt though is a tri blend. It's amazing. They're super sweet. And also the other new shirt that I have, it just says DBC right here, and then I should have one. It's got it's called the Flying Sunset shirt. It's the same quality shirt with the same like tri blend. It's just a black, whereas they call this a black frost. It's got a little bit, it's kind of like a charcoal, but they call it a black frost because it's darker than a charcoal. The other shirt is just a straight black. It's made out of the same materials though. It's super soft. So anyway, they're the best shirts that I can possibly buy. I had a guy email me, and he's like, he made some complaint about the shirt. He's like, these are cheap shirts. And I looked up his order, and I'm like, this is literally the best shirt you can possibly buy. I'm like, I don't sell cheap stuff. Like maybe you got a bad one or whatever. So we're like, hey, let me send you another one. But it was like, every once in a while you'll get kind of like something wrong with a shirt, but I only sell stuff that I actually wear. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that to you. You've got until the end of the month to get entered into the sweepstakes for those. Automatic entry with all purchases, and when you use my links for Rocky Mountain ATV, you're good to go there too. Gives you entries. Okay, so we got Rusty in here. He's from Waco, Texas. David Fiedler says, hey, Richard Brower says, I missed your last one. I want to know. Oh my gosh. Richard says this, I missed your last one. Just want you to know that I'm catching this from the porcelain throne. Okay, Richard, thank you for letting us know. We will not get that visual out of our minds. Maybe, though, you'll come out of the porcelain throne and come up with a question. Veal, it's Ville. That's all it says here. Is thinking of buying a YZ125X. Is there something I should think of before buying? The only thing you should think of before buying a dirt bike is the safety equipment. So this is something that people tell me. Like I've seen this email a lot. People will say, "Hey, I've saved up X amount of dollars to buy a dirt bike. What do you think I should buy or whatever?" And I'm like, well, my first question is, do you have money for boots and a helmet? Because that dirt bike isn't going to do you any good unless you've budgeted some money in for those two things. We could debate about a lot of other stuff, but like you need to ride any dirt bike, you need to have good boots and a good helmet. I just took my little sister out last week riding, and I just put her on my daughter's CRF 125F, and my little sister had never ridden a motorcycle with a clutch or anything, and she had a little bit of a tip over moment, and it was so good. She was wearing a jersey, a long sleeve jersey, and boots, because she would have really skinned up her arm, but the boots really saved her from just like the bike just completely tearing up her ankle. Because you get those, you tip over, the bike is on top of you a lot of times. Sometimes a foot peg can get you, rocks can kind of do that, jump out at you. So boots are very very important. So that's my thing, Veal, is when you say you're thinking of buying a bike, what should I think of before buying it? Think about boots and a helmet. Obviously you should be wearing pants and you should be wearing long sleeves. So the safety gear is what you should be thinking of before you buy a bike. Make sure that you don't spend all of your money on the motorcycle and not have anything left over, for your safety gear. Dave Fielder, is it or Fiedler? Sorry, David. David Fiedler is from who says, "Hey, Graham," or he's from Graham, Washington. Okay. Let's see here. We've got Kyle from Cruz, British Columbia, Canada. Big Chuck says, what gear ratio you prefer on the new 300? So I'm guessing you're talking about the 300 XCW. It comes with the 1345, I believe it is. And 13 tooth front and 45 tooth rear. And I've gone up to a 47 tooth in the rear. And I think I like that a little bit better. It's not like drastically better, but I do think I like it a little bit better. And I just bought it from Rocky Mountain ATV. I think I did a video on that. I just bought a primary drive sprocket from Rocky Mountain ATV, super cheap, like 35, 40 bucks. I can't remember. And it just made second gear and third gear, I think, a little bit more usable for mountain single track. Just gearing it down, which is interesting because a lot of time, like historically, I didn't want to gear the XCWs down, but this one on the 24, I think it works. Datsun is from Colorado. Big Sky Crane, Utah in the house. Richard Brower says he's off the throne and getting changed now to ride his 23 Beta 200 RR here in Southeast Pennsylvania. Thank you, David, Richard, for the update. But yeah, it's great that you're getting out to ride. I love that. Ricochet says, I think Ricochet is responding to the other comment here. YZ125 is a fantastic bike. Just don't. Oh my gosh. Did you listen to me? Because you said, maybe you did this after I said it, because Ricochet says, don't skimp on boots and a helmet. In fact, overspend on a helmet. I wonder, Ricochet, leave down in the comments down here below if you left that comment before or after I started talking about boots and a helmet. Datsun says, guilty of riding without gear more than I should. Dude, I never do. Even when I went last week with my sister, when I knew all I was going to be doing is helping her and going really, really slow, I still put on all my riding gear, because you just never know. And that way, whenever I'm out, if I see a jump or I see something or a hill climb or whatever, I can just do it and I don't have to worry. Tyler LaBelle says, watched a kid in leather work boots break his leg on Saturday in the parking lot. I wonder what happened there. But yeah, I just don't ride without all this gear anymore. I've just seen it happen too many times where people get hurt or whatever when they're not wearing the proper safety gear. So I always say that. Ricochet says he's from Charlotte, North Carolina. I wonder if, oh my gosh. So I looked down here. I skipped ahead. Ricochet says, I typed that before you said it. Awesome. So at least I don't know what your name is, Ricochet. I'm assuming this is just a handle and you don't need to tell us what your name is, but that's really cool that we said the same thing. Okay. So Big Chuck says best boot for ankle support, recovering from a high ankle sprain. Oh, done with Fox, dude. So I won't buy Fox boots anymore. I've had 2 of them. I don't like them at all. So if you're talking about ankle support, so I've got the Garnet SG12 and the Garnet SG22 are fantastic. Um, the Alpine Star, I have the Alpine Star Tech 10s. They're also amazing. They're really stiff, and I like a stiff boot. But honestly, the CD boots, the CD SRS boots, with the Crossfire. In fact, I don't like the SRS. I just like the cross. SRS stands for sole replacement system. I'd rather just have the solid sole. So it's the Crossfire, the CD Crossfires. All of them are good, dude. The only one that I don't like anymore is Fox. So the one that I gravitate to the most, honestly, are the Garnet boots. Especially like even the SG22s. I really like those now because it's like a lower toe box. I guess my question would be, do you have like narrow feet or wide feet? Because like a wide toe, like in because the CDs, I feel like the CD boots work a little bit better if you have a narrow foot. I don't have a wide foot, and every once in a while, some of my boots can kind of like, especially because I'm standing up a lot. Sometimes I don't get super great circulation to my toes, and they start to kind of hurt a little bit, and then I have to sit down on the bike or something, and take the pressure point off the balls of my foot. But as far as ankle support, dude, the only ones that and I'm not saying the Fox boots don't have good ankle support. I'm just saying of all the boots that I've tried, Fox are my far and away my least favorite. And it's really kind of hard for me to pick between the CD and the Garnet and the Alpine Stars. I wear the Alpine Stars the least, at least the Tech 10, and it's just because that booty inside the boot, because on the Tech 10 you have a booty inside the boot that your foot goes in, and you have to strap that in. It's more difficult, I feel like, to take the boot on and off because of that extra booty thing down in there. And so I use the Alpine Stars the least. I think I use the Garnets the most, and then I use the CDs right after that. But ankle support, a Tech 10, Alpine Star Tech 10, and the the Garnet SG12 or the SG22, I would say are the best for that, just from my experience. PNW Dirt Riders, Brian Lynn says, when you coming to ride Pacific Northwest? Washington State has some epic single track. That's a really good question. I'd love to. It's hard to just like branch out and go places. As a single dad, I mean, I have to be very careful. And then also it's expensive. And it's like people think I make money from putting up YouTube videos. I don't. I don't make money from it. So it all comes out of my pocket. Um, and especially now, like I'm making, like I used to make for a while, I didn't, the money that I made on the YouTube ad revenue was so low that I didn't even factor it in as like, one of the business revenue streams. And then it kind of got up to the point a couple years ago where I was like, oh, like this is kind of like a legitimate revenue stream. And then because of like how YouTube just pushes like all the YouTube shorts and everything because of like TikTok and stuff, now that revenue stream has basically gone away again. So, like uploading videos, like I uploaded a video today, it's doing nothing, you know. It's almost gotten to the point where I'm kind of like demotivated to make YouTube videos because no one watches them. Like YouTube doesn't show it to anybody. It doesn't matter. I have 300 and I don't even know 320,000 subscribers. Like I can upload a video and only 5,000 people will watch it. So yeah, it's just it's like taking a step back 5, 6 years. 6 years ago, I could get more people watching a video, or at least 5 years ago, for sure, more people watching a video than I can now. So, as fun as it would be to come up to the Pacific Northwest, and eventually I do want to, it's just tricky to take time off. And then I've got to be around for my kids. Because I have the kids once a week and then every other weekend. And so then that it's just like it's almost like the weeks that I don't have the kids, then I need to like really focus. And so it's gotten as weird as this sounds, um, it's harder for me to ride now that I'm a single dad. You'd think it'd be the other way around, but it's not. Let's see here. Just check in. Let's see. Just came up from so War Junkie 85 says just came up from Oklahoma to Kansas for work. Tomorrow off to Missouri for work. So good to see you, bud. Let's see. Big Chuck says because Big Chuck was talking. He had the question earlier about the um I think the gearing. So he says either XC has the same internals. Yeah, so he's talking about the gearing. They do appear to have the same internals, but they don't have the same final drive because on the XC I think they use like a 14 tooth front sprocket. So yeah, you're just playing around with those, but I think I already answered the questions. Jared Travis says hello from San Pete County, Utah. Jared, that's my stomping grounds. I don't know if you knew that, but that's where I grew up. So I grew up in Mount Pleasant. So you have to maybe let us know down in the comments which part of San Pete County that you are in. Big Sky Crane says, "Hey Kyle, I just purchased a secondhand KTM 250XC. I'm so glad I watched your videos about your experience with the 450cc motocross bike." Yeah, honestly, Big Sky Crane, it was one of the driving factors for me to actually continue to do YouTube, and it was probably for I don't even know, the first 5 to 6, 7 years that I was putting up YouTube videos. It was a big thing that I was really focusing on, is just trying to help people to not buy the wrong motorcycle. And I still, it's still one of my focuses, but it has been a big thing. I try to make sure that people don't buy a 450 motocross bike as their first bike. In fact, if you're going to ride trails and single track and things like that, I still want you to not buy a motocross bike at all. I'd rather see you buy the trail, like the desert versions or the cross country versions of these bikes, than anything. And if you're going to be riding single track, it makes a lot of sense to buy a two stroke. If you're going to be in the mountain type stuff, or if the riding is going to be slower, I definitely think that you should be, you know, riding a two stroke, because they're just easier to ride. Let's see. Rusty, have you ever ridden a speedway bike? I don't know what you mean by a speedway bike. I've ridden like bullet bikes, and some other street bikes, Harleys, Yamahas, Hondas. I've ridden street bikes, but I don't know what you mean by a speedway bike. Todd Mail says, Taco Mails. Hey Kyle, got an 18 300 XCW a little over a year ago. My Honda riding buddies call it a gay TM. I don't care. Best damn woods bike out there. Rest in peace, tree hugger. Okay. So I don't know why they would call it that. The 18 300 XCW. I don't know why they have a problem with that. So my question is, was that the first? Because in 18, that 300 XCW was like TPI. Actually, it might have been that they had TPI and carburetor in 18. I can't remember. I know in 19 they were TPI, but I think in 18 that XCW was a TPI bike. Anyway, but the TPIs, I mean, we figured out how to make those run really good. Let's see, Goober 84884, getting into trail riding, mainly single and double track. Is it worth swapping out the rear 19-inch for an 18-inch wheel? Not doing any hard enduro, just trail riding and some minor track. So the main benefits of putting an 18-inch rear wheel on your bike is just traction and less flats, because the tire dimension, the circumference of the tire, how tall it is, overall is going to be the same whether it's an 18-inch wheel or the 19-inch wheel. But the 18-inch wheel gives you more rubber between you and the ground. So and that'll be heavier. So the reason why they use the 19-inch wheel on a motocross bike is overall the wheel's lighter because there's less rubber. Okay. But in off-road, you want a little bit more flexing for traction, because you're going to be and you want there to be a little bit more rubber there. They're more forgiving as far as like getting flats and stuff. So that's why you have an 18-inch wheel on an off-road bike. But I mean, if you're not going to be doing like hard enduros or anything, it's not like a huge thing. And if you ran tubeless, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. You can get tubeless on a 19-inch rear. Or if you even ran mooses or whatever, it really wouldn't matter. So that's a question I have. Like if you wanted to run mooses, which not everyone does, you're probably still running tubes. I would definitely, if you don't swap to an 18-inch wheel, I would put a heavy duty 19-inch tube in the bike, in that rear, to try to mitigate some of the flats. Yeah, but it's expensive to put an 18-inch rear on there. There's a reason why they do it. But it's going to cost you like $300 or something, maybe more by the time it's all said and done. By the time you buy the tire, you might be I can't remember the last time I did this was a while ago, but you may be like $400 to switch to an 18-inch rear. And I mean, I don't know, it's not gonna like change your life. Because if you got a 19-inch rear, that means you are on a motocross bike. My thought is it'd probably be better for you to save the money or find a cheaper suspension tuner and revalve the suspension for single track and double track. And that's going to be more than $400, but you could get somebody to do this for you for I don't know. I've there's some mom and pop shops or whatever, or some weekend warrior type people that actually do know suspension pretty well that will do this for you for a few hundred, maybe $600-700. I don't know. So my thought is rather than swapping to an 18-inch wheel, if I had like a motocross bike that I wanted to move over and do some more off-road single tracky, double tracky stuff, I'd probably save that money and have the suspension softened is I think the way I would go. Brandon T says hello from Oklahoma. Big Sky Crane says, dang, I have Fox boots. I'm not saying you have to throw your Fox boots away. I'm just saying that of Fox, Garnet, Alpine Stars, and CDs, the Fox are my least favorite by a long shot. It's not that they suck, but I won't buy them anymore unless somebody says, "Hey, look, they revamped this whole thing, and the boots are awesome." And one of my best riding buddies, like Tyler, he buys Fox all the time. He likes them because they're comfortable to walk in, and they are. Like the Fox boots are the most comfortable to walk in, like to hike around and stuff. But I think that's because they offer the least amount of protection. They still offer protection, but I think it's the least amount. Like even and they're expensive, like the Fox Instinct boots. They're high dollar ones. Ricochet said, "I have the Alpine Star Tech 7, good balance for price to performance." I have heard that as well. The Alpine Star Tech 7s. I've never owned a pair, and the nice thing about the Tech 7s is they don't have that inner booty inside the boot. It's just the Tech 10s that has that. Lahori, I don't know how to pronounce that. Lautry, Laochri, Lautry. I don't know. I bought some of the T-handle wrenches from Rocky Mountain ATV from the Sweepstakes announcements video. Is that an entry or does it have to go through the website? So you have to click my link first. So any of the links like that are on my YouTube videos or on my email signatures, or if you go to dirtbikechannel.com, there's a one of the menu items says shop Rocky Mountain ATV. You have to click those. What it does is it puts a tracking cookie in your browser. And then anything you purchase from them gives me a kickback. It's a referral bonus. And that during the sweepstakes, that does also give you entries into the sweepstakes. So I'm assuming if you got the RMATV link from this, yeah, if it was in the announcement video, if you clicked a link from my announcement video, those are that has the tracking, in there. So you should be fine. Let's see. Curtis Moore says, "Hi, Kyle. I was curious if you have an opinion on Sherco bikes. And what is your favorite go-to bike as of today?" Yeah, so I've done a lot of videos on Shercos, and I've had several different Shercos. Here's the thing with the Sherco bikes. They're great bikes. But as far as just like overall polish, if we're talking about trail bikes, and you can fight me on this all you want, but I've owned all the bikes. I've owned Beta, Sherco, all of them. No one has more polish than the Austrian bikes, KTM, Husqvarna, and Gas. No one does it better than them. Period. Full stop. Sherco, though, is a fantastic bike, fantastic brand. And I would say, but I just think my personal opinion is they're just one tier below the KTMs. Now, that doesn't mean that they suck. They're still amazing bikes, but I just don't jive as well with them. Like the clutch pull on basically every Sherco I've ever had is a little bit harder, even though they're using the same like component. My hands and feet typically are closer together on the Sherco bikes. The Sherco bikes, the foot pegs come out flat. They also, I feel like every single one has been valved too stiff. Now, this isn't just Sherco. most of the bikes out there, as far as suspension goes, I think are valve too stiff for the weekend warriors. Yamaha's too stiff, Honda's too stiff. They're all too stiff. The only ones, and even right now, like even for what I'm doing, like the KTM XC bikes are valved, in my opinion, like too stiff. The only ones that are not valve too stiff are like the XCWs, like the KTM XCW. I don't think is valve too stiff. The TE from Husky is not valve too stiff, and the Gas EC is not valved too stiff. It's like there's just, and then motors like the Sherco 2-stroke motor, fantastic motor, pulls really really hard, has a ton of low end, but it also vibrates more than the KTM bikes, the KTM motors. So I can just kind of go down the list and I'm like, yeah, the Sherco bikes are really, really cool bikes. But and then plastics. I have broken more plastics. The plastics on the Shercos are more brittle than the plastics on the KTMs. They just are. Like handguards and things. So yeah, the Sherco is a great, great bike, but it isn't the pinnacle of technology in this sport. And I don't like it quite as much as the KTM or the Husky or the Gas, which is why I don't personally own I don't keep one or multiple of them in my shop. Look, I'm buying these damn things with my own money. Sorry to swear, but nobody has given me these bikes. Some of them probably would if I asked, but I'm not asking for them. I don't want to. So you have to ask yourself, why am I doing that? It's because I think that they're better. I think overall, no one makes a better bike. Now, Triumph just, is putting out a bike. You got your, Stark Varg is starting to put out some of these electric bikes. Obviously, Beta makes a really good motorcycle. Sherco makes a really good motorcycle. And I'm not saying that I like all the stuff KTM does. Right now, I wish that the 24 bikes, I wish they came with the older frame, like the 24 XCW from KTM. I really, really like the motor, the TBI motor, but I don't like the frame as much as I did last year. So I'm not sitting here saying every time they do something, it's always gold, but the aggregate, you put it all together. And if you're going to do off road, single track, enduro, whatever, the KTM has more polish than these other bikes. And so that doesn't mean that Sherco sucks. Sherco's amazing. It's just, I give it a 4-star typically, and I would give usually the KTM 4.5 stars or 5 stars or whatever, depending on the model. Marcia Hayes, any recommendation for women's gear? I don't want to wear men's gear. I don't know, Marcia. That's one of the sucky things. There's not a ton of women's gear out there. I'm super sorry. They just, these clothing companies, they're just like, look, there's not that many women in the sport, and so they don't like focus on it. I know that isn't the answer you wanted, but it's the truth. And so if you go to Rocky Mountain ATV, you can shop for women's gear, and I would do that, but you don't have nearly the type of selection that men have. So I'm sorry, Marcia. Let's see. Joe Mama says, "Hi, man. Will you get a 250 XCF again? Maybe 2024." I don't know. I doubt it. If so, he's talking to KTM 254 stroke. I doubt it. I'd rather get, my son has been riding motocross. And I think if I get a 250, or when I get a 254 stroke again, I think I will just go a straight up motocross bike and then just use that at the track and go with him. And I think I would buy a Yamaha YZ250F over the KTM, to be dead honest with you. I like the motors better. I like how they pull harder. I like how you can adjust them as far as like mapping and stuff with your phone. I don't think there's a super good reason in 4 strokes to go with KTM. I'd rather do the Yamaha, to be honest. And what I was talking about earlier about the KTMs, that's only in the 2-stroke line. I should mention that. When I was talking about enduro bikes, I think KTM has more polish over the Sherco. They have more polish over all the other ones. But if we start talking about 4 strokes, I should have mentioned this. If I had to ride personally, here's one for you though about Sherco. I'm going to give Sherco a plug here. If I had to ride one bike all year long and I could not swap, and it had to be a 4-stroke, I would probably take the Sherco 300 SEF. It would be between the Sherco 300 SEF or the Beta 390 RR. Did you notice I'm not talking to KTM in there? Because in the four strokes, I don't think KTM really has any real advantage over the rest of the market. So there you go. War Junkie 85. I get being a single dad and not being able to go ride places. Right on sticking riding when you can. Yeah, so that's it. Mountain MX says the algorithm sucks. I think they're talking about like YouTube and just like social media in general. They want like I took a YouTube like study course last summer that like kind of ruined me because it really opened my eyes into like what I would have to do to like really make my YouTube channel grow. And I just didn't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to play that game. As selfish as this sounds, I don't really care that much about what other people want me to make videos on. I always just wanted to make videos on what I was passionate about. And if you're lucky on social media, what you're passionate about is exactly what is going to work or whatever. But it wasn't for me. And so it was always going to be a slow growth. And then anyway. Chris McNeil, are there any racing series out there that aren't 100% motocross? Yeah, there's a ton of them. There's a ton of like off-road racing series all over. Here in Utah, there's a desert racing series called USRA, but they're all over. There's a ton of them that are not 100% motocross. I'm not big into that scene. I don't love racing. I don't love crowds and whatever. So I've never actually entered a race. I take a lot of flack for that, but I never have. And the reason is because I don't want to. Marsha Hayes, I enjoy watching your videos. Please don't stop. I've learned so much from your writing. Thanks, Marsha. You're one of the very few out there that are watching these things as a woman. According to the YouTube demographics, it's really only about 5% of the people that watch my videos are women. And so, yeah, I always love hearing from women. Every once in a while, I'll get like an email from a woman, and it's always like, oh my gosh, here it is. I just view you guys, I view you gals as pretty special because there's just not a lot of you there. And a huge part of that is because the bikes are generally too tall for you. It's funny too because a lot of like the motocross riders, which these bikes are kind of designed around, are 5'6", 5'7", and so they're not a ton taller than you guys, gals. But when you're riding off road and stuff, it's intimidating to have these big tall bikes, and so with women, it's hard. So yeah, thank you, Marcia. Let's see. PNW Dirt Rider says financing makes it tough for sure if you plan a trip. So I'm not financing bikes. Oh, well, financing, just like paying for trips and stuff. Yes, it makes it hard. I don't finance things. I haven't financed a motorcycle for a long time. But yeah, the finances and time are the bigger reason why I don't just do trips all over. Because it's like in order to drive to Oregon, or maybe I don't even know if you're in Washington or something, I'd be driving through a lot of Idaho that has epic single track. And so I'd be passing all this really, really great riding to come to your riding. And eventually we'll do it. Let's see. David Deming, do you or does anyone else know where to get an extended brake foot pad for my 18300XC? So Rocky Mountain ATV has these. I used to buy these all the time. Called just you're talking about the brake it's the foot, the brake foot. Who makes that? I used to put it on my bikes all the time. Brake pedal. Brake. Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ones. If you go onto Rocky Mountain ATV and you just search for brake pedal, Tusk makes one that's a little bit bigger. Enduro Engineering makes one that's an extended one out. There's a bunch of different ones. So if I say, yeah, you can just go on here and check this out. There's a whole bunch. In fact, I'm gonna just maybe put this in the chat just for fun since I did already look it up. But I'm going to use my affiliate link here if I can find it, because there's a ton of good options for those, and I'm betting that it'll work on pretty much all of them. So this will be like, drop that in there, then copy all of these. I'm just gonna drop that. Okay, let's see. Ben R says, now that I've ridden a 450 motocross bike, I hope that when I can get an enduro bike, I'll be way better with the cheater bike once I get caught up a little financially. And that's true. Yeah, if you can ride a 450 motocross bike and you can do that in all these various areas or whatever, then yeah, getting a two-stroke is kind of like a cheater. Unless you're talking about on a track, and then the 450s are kind of the cheater, which is why I think a lot of people have them. Teenage dirt bike dad says he's from Germany. Overall TM conclusion: independent of CC or stroke. So I think you just want, I pretty much, I think I said it in my review of the TM. I mean, I can basically say the exact same things about the Sherco and the TM. The TM motorcycle was so much like the Sherco, it was kind of scary. And I was a little bit underwhelmed just because so many people had talked so highly about the TM. And I was like, oh, this is just, it's kind of like Sherco. And so, yeah, it's hard to find parts. That's the other thing with the Sherco, is it's harder to get parts than it is on like basically any of the Japanese brands or the Austrian brands. And then a TM is even harder to get parts. And here in, well, I don't know about Germany. I don't know how hard it is, but for a minute there over the summer, and I don't even know if it's changed, I think US kind of lost their importer of TM, and maybe like that isn't the case now. Maybe there's another importer of TM. Ben R says a 302 stroke for him. It's a great bike. Let's see. CNH Adventure. Speedway bikes are the bikes that look like they're always drifting. Okay. I haven't done that. Oh, Rusty says Speedway bikes, methanol burning, rigid frame, no transmission or brakes on a dirt track. No, I've never ridden those. Dale Holmes says, I'm wondering if the new Exact forks will fit a 2015 300XC. I'm sure you could, but they'd be very expensive to get them. I think because they're the same, they're a 48 millimeter, they would fit in your triple clamps. And then you just have to, figure out if the axle that you have, if you might need to get new spacers because the axle might be a slightly different size. So you'd have to look into that. But it'd be dang expensive to get them. I don't know how you'd get them. At that point, like you can buy premium. At that point, you might as well just buy like a cone valve or something like that, because it might almost be the same cost. They don't like to sell stock forks, I feel like. But yeah, it's an interesting concept. Okay. Let's see. Owen Arendorf says, hello from South Africa. I have to know, what is the best website for KTM graphics? I honestly don't know. Like, there's so many people that do graphics. I get so tired at this time at 4 o'clock. Between 3 and 5, I get really, really tired. This is actually an energy drink. And even though I'm sitting here talking, I'm actually tired. Let's see. Next one. Kenneth Proctor. Hey, Kyle. Love your channel and was wondering if you thought about doing an adventure bike reviews. Not like the 1290, but the smaller ones. Keep up the good work. No, I haven't, Kenneth, and it's because it doesn't really light my fire. I'm fighting burnout big time right now, to be completely honest. And it's burnout of even wanting to talk about motorcycles. And I still really love dirt bikes. But I'm just kind of fighting it to where I'm just like, it's hard for me to motivate myself to make videos on like enduro bikes right now. imagine how much harder it would be to make a video on something that I'm not passionate about, and I've never been passionate about adventure bikes. I haven't. I mean, I bought that one 1290 a few years ago, and it was obviously the street version, and it's a big bike, and no one cared. Like, I mean, the guy that won it, he cared, you know, but I had no desire to take that bike on the dirt. And then like a 690, like these 690 enduro bikes or whatever, I'm sure they're really cool bikes, but like the actual riding out on dirt roads or gravel roads or whatever, and then doing a little bit of, connecting it with some oil road and then going and camping overnight, like on an adventure bike or whatever. That doesn't sound exciting to me. Um, it just doesn't. And so, no, I don't think I will do that. I mean, I'd rather, to be honest, rather than doing like adventure bikes, I'd rather just pick up like archery shooting again, So, um, I don't really want, I don't have a desire to branch out into street bikes or to adventure bikes or any of that other stuff or like supermoto. Those are like the dirt bikes that have like the street tire or whatever. I don't have any real passion or desire to move to those things. And so if I wanted to do something different, I'd probably just get back into rifle shooting, do that a little bit more, get back into archery, do that a little bit more. I got to show you guys this. So back in 2012 was the last time that I actually shot archery. And this is obviously two arrows stuck together. This is a Robin Hood. It's the one and only time I've done it. And I've been carefully packing this thing around ever since then. So I haven't shot archery for 10 years. Well, a little bit more than 10 years. This is a carbon shaft that I actually just slammed right down the other one. And once that happened, I was just like, wow, that was awesome. And I haven't shot archery since that day. I was on a camping trip and I did that. I think I was just kind of burning out on that at the time. And the point of this is to say, um, I've really been fighting burnout on making YouTube videos. And I fought it for so long and I have it's there. So I wouldn't want to do adventure bikes. Um, it just I wouldn't want to do it. Jared Travis says, I didn't realize you were from Sanpete. Glad to hear it. I do know some brothers and families here in North Sanpete, guessing that they must be your relatives in Spring City. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because SEN are the ones that I'm related to. So, and I went to North Sanpete High School, so that's cool. CP, what bikes are you reviewing next? I'm just kind of seeing how the sweepstakes is going to be complete, or how the sweepstakes goes, to be completely honest. If this sweepstakes doesn't do well here in September, I don't know. You can read into that what you will, but I'm like, I'm pretty. I should maybe this is too but yeah, I don't know. I'd love to get a beta, but yeah, I'm just kind of like at a low point on it now. I'd like to do some more riding with my son at the track. So maybe a Yamaha, maybe another beta. It's been a while since I had one of those, but I'm not sure. Ben says the 4mm tube is great for a 19-inch wheel. I've had zero flats in the mountains. I think isn't like a aren't the heavy duty tubes like a 5 or 6 mil? I'm not sure. I haven't done it. Ricochet says I ran an MX bike in the woods for 30 years. Run it. Yeah, I mean you can. But I still say it's better to have a purpose-built bike for the woods over a motocross bike. You can obviously do things to them to make them better. Let's see. Todd Mel says 300 XCW is carbureted. In 2018, one of those bikes was TPI. Was it just the 250? It might have been just the 250 XCW that was TPI. He said, buddies give me crap for the pumpkin. LOL. Tree Hugger is an old riding buddy that passed away from cancer. We're a group called the Ozark Mountain Knobbers. Okay. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a carbureted two-stroke. They're amazing, and some guys still wanna do it. Um, Teenage Dirt Bike Dad says, "Still want the boot test as a successor of the helmet melon test." Yeah, I kinda ran out of steam on that. I still have the boots. Um, there's a lot, and I filled them full of concrete, and they're still sitting in my shop. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure what if I'll finish that or not. It sucks because I filmed a bunch of stuff on the boots, but then yeah, just some stuff kind of came up, and I'm not sure that I'll finish it. Let's see. So Daniel Manzi says consider to participate in Romaniacs in the future. Interesting to see your opinion of this kind of experience. Greetings from Romania. I would like to go over there and spectate at Romaniacs, but my desire to participate in Romaniacs is 0.0%. I don't even participate in local races. So the chances of me going to like one of the hardest hard enduro races in the world, Romaniacs or whatever, 0.0% uh interest in doing that. So Ben Shedwick said, but it would be super fun to go over there and watch it. I would love to go to Ayrsburg and watch that, be a spectator. I think it'd be super cool to just be around the whole atmosphere. Um, of Romaniacs or Ayrsburg, but I 0.0% want to participate in those races or events. Ben Shedwick says, I'm 16 and doing a top end on my YZ125 for the first weekend. I watched the Rocky Mountain AT video on how to do it. Are there any other tips? No, I mean, those guys are really good. You want to have clean. I would just say if you're going to be taking your dirt bike apart, do it in an organized way. So if you have a bench that you can kind of spread things out on, A, make sure things are clean, and B, just kind of take things out and just be very mindful of all the bolts that you take out, put them all in a certain place. And then also I would say try to do this as quickly as you can. Don't take it apart and wait 3-4 weeks. Now, sometimes you might need to send off the cylinder to maybe get um, replated or whatever, or honed or something. So it's not like you can. Sometimes you can't. You will have a little bit of a break in there. I'm just saying, don't draw it out for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. Just like if you can take it apart, do the things, um, and put it back together in a reasonable amount of time. I think that's a good tip. I don't know how much they talk about that, but those Rocky Mountain ATV videos on like top ends and stuff, they do a really good job. So I wouldn't have anything to add other than be organized, be clean, and then if you can take it apart and put it back together in a shorter amount of time, it's better than if you wait forever because then you can forget things or bolts can get lost, they can get kicked around the shop or whatever, and you can lose them. Let's see. Ben R says, I liked your video about building a motocross bike into an enduro. It will never be as good as a dedicated enduro. That made me quit putting money into my KX450F and saving money for a 302 stroke. Yeah, that was a super big eye opener for me because we took a 2003 Honda 250R, put a bunch of money into it. In the end, it was the most expensive bike I'd ever had until we did that Iron Horse project. And it was my least favorite enduro bike of all time. It just didn't matter how much money we threw at it. It just wasn't great. And that isn't to say that you can't have fun on a motocross bike with a few changes. You can. But I just am a big proponent of these enduro two strokes. They're just better. If you're going to do enduro riding, it's better to have that than to put lipstick on a pig. And that's how it ended up feeling. Ben Shedwick, what do you think is the best trail tire for a 19-inch? So I don't use I very rarely have to put trail tires on 19-inch wheels, but the one that I'm really really liking right now is the Rocky Mountain ATV is the Tusk Talon tire. Now this isn't a tire that you're going to get a lot of life out of, but you said what's the best one for like trail riding? They don't make it in a 19. I take it back. Wait, let's see if they make. Let me list. Does the IRC VE33S, does this come? They tell you all these tires that don't. Oh my gosh! So it doesn't come in a 19-inch wheel either. Let's see. Does the Shinko 525? Does this come in 18? We're gonna find all the tires that don't come in 19. Oh, here we go. Here's your tire. Okay. The best trail tire, in my opinion, as a 19-inch is going to be the Shinko 525 hybrid cheater tire. It comes in a 19-inch. You can get in a 110 90 19, or you can get it in a 120 90 19. Yeah, that's my answer for you, Ben. Get yourself a Shinko 525. You notice that I typed in some other ones that aren't available for it. But yeah, you can get the Shinko 525 in a 19, and it's awesome. Adam Pelly. Is this Adam Pelly that I'm related to? KTM is your favorite. Beta is better for short girls. I think it is. Like, this is Adam's picture on here. I can see Adam's face. Adam's my brother-in-law. I didn't, yeah, but so he's on here. So he says he's your favorite. Beta is better for short girls, but Adam is as tall as me, I'm pretty sure. So, but I'm not going to argue with you. Beta is better for short people because they're 2 inches shorter. Well, I know it's an inch shorter, but then you can get it like factory with the lowboy kit installed on it. And now it's 3 inches shorter than like these other bikes. So that's right. Adam is correctamundo. All right. So Coop's off-road performance says clutch pull on a hydraulic clutch. Okay, he might have been making fun of me because I was talking about how the Shercos are a little bit harder to pull. They are. I don't know. They're just a little bit harder to pull, even though it's a Brembo clutch master cylinder. I haven't been able to figure that part out. So yeah. And the clutch pull on a new cable clutch is typically pretty easy. It's when your cable clutch gets like it's old and nasty, they get kind of hard. Polar Creator says, I live in Tennessee and want to race all kinds of trail. I think a 250XC or a 300XCW. Which ones of those would you recommend? Okay, so if you're racing in Tennessee, now I haven't ridden in Tennessee, but when I hear racing all kinds of things, I go 250XC. That's just the 250 is a racier motor. And typically speaking, over the last several years, if I had to pick as an all-around bike, I like the 250 motor usually a little bit better than the 300 motor if I'm going to do a really wide variety of things. I think the 250XC is a snappier motor. We have to really get serious and specific on which models now within the KTM lineup, XC versus XCW, and what years we're talking about. But like if I roll this back and just say the year is 2022 and you're going to be riding a model year 22 bike, I say get the 250XC. Freaking love that thing. It's gonna run circles around a ton of different things and it'll be super fun. And if you're going to be riding various types of things, wide variety, get the 250XC. The 300XCW is going to be really great if you're going to be riding slower, more technical stuff. And I tell people this all the time. Here's how you decide between a 250 motor versus a 300 motor. If most of your riding is shifting between first gear and second gear, get the 300cc. If most of your riding is shifting between second gear and third gear, get the 250XC. And if you can't decide and you're saying you want to go faster, get the 250. If you're racing, get the 250. If you're you want to ride slower, more technical stuff, get the 300. Let's see. What else do we have here? Ricochet. Some of it is personal preference. I really like the KYB suspension on the Yamahas. I like the clutch on the KTMs. I like how I sit on the Kawasaki. I need someone to build up a mashup of all the bikes. That's an interesting perspective, and I would agree with you mostly. I will say that, like, I think the KYB suspension thing is overblown. I haven't had a KYB fork that I really loved. I've had them that I liked, and I've had some that I hated. But like everyone talks about KYB suspension, like all it has to have is KYB, and it'll be amazing. I'm here to tell you that that's often not the case. But yeah, it is interesting. Like I'm with you. It would be nice if you could pick and choose like different things from the different bikes and put them all together. I can do that. Ben R says, are KTM guys stuck up? No more stuck up than Honda dudes or Yamaha dudes or Kawasaki dudes or Sherco dudes. Like there's always going to be like brand loyalty, like Ford people, Chevy people, Ram people, whatever. There's always going to be those bad apples in there for sure. Um, look, let's see. LOL. It's pronounced Laocri. 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 It's Scottish or Gaelic for warrior king, but I misspelled it. It was a D&D character from the 80s. D&D. I'm guessing, is that Dungeons and Dragons? I never played video games. Sean says, "Do you ride dunes at all?" I just tuned in way off topic. I don't love sand dunes. It just isn't that fun to me. So I will ride some sand stuff, but I don't love riding dirt bikes at the sand dunes for several different reasons. One of the reasons is it's not that fun unless you have a paddle tire. And then also all the sand dunes that I know of, like you're supposed to run a flag. I don't want to run a flag. Yeah, so I don't really do sand dunes. Joe Smith says he's moving to Utah and Draper in a couple months. Looking forward to riding Utah. Remington Croft says, "How about some tips on getting my wife more confident and some exercises we can do to get her confidence up?" Huh. I mean, confidence just comes from repetition and doing it over and over. My question would be, how tall is her bike? I know a lot of women want to be, and a lot of people in general, but specifically um, people when they're starting out want to be able to touch the ground with both feet. I always broke my kids into where it's like, you, or at least my boys, I'm like, you don't have to touch with both feet. But if I wanted to have a significant other, I like a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, be more confident. Excuse me, sorry. I'd want to make sure that they can touch the ground. I'd want to make sure the bike isn't too tall. Um, Exercises you can do to get confidence up. I would do some slow balance practice drills. Full lock turns are really good. What I mean by that is you can do it in the driveway. You don't have to have all your gear on. Just get on, in the driveway in front of the house or whatever. Best if you put boots on for something like this. And then just turn the handlebars all the way to the left or to the right, and then slowly try to do a circle that with the bar fully, like the handlebars fully locked in a circle. Go one way, go the other way, do some figure eights or whatever. And that will help develop balance. And that's a really good way to get confidence up. It's just like these slow balance drills, just trying to balance the bike and having the bars fully against the stop. It really forces you to like get your balance down. Um, yeah, David Fleming says, Marcia Hayes, there is women's gear on there, but I think you'll find most gear is geared towards men. However, there's some female specific items such as boots. Alpine Stars makes great women's boots, for example. Thanks, David, for helping Marcia out on that. Brandon T says, I have a 2012 KTM 300 XCW. Would it be an upgrade to get a 2017 300 XC or not a lot of difference? It is a massive upgrade, Brandon. Your bike is awesome. Your 2012 bike is the reason we're having this discussion because it changed my life. But in 2017, they counterbalanced the motors and they went to an air fork. They changed the frame. The changes that they made to the frame and to the motor in 2017 are the second biggest changes I've ever seen them make, and probably the best changes I've ever seen them make as far as like, if you went from because your bike, the 2012 300 XCW was basically that, it was that same bike clear up until the end of 2016. The bike didn't really change. In 2017, they changed the motor completely, so it was counterbalanced. They changed the position of the starter motor, so it was much more protected. It was behind the cylinder instead of just like a bolt-on the side, and the frames were different. So yeah, it's a massive upgrade. As long as you get a bike, a 2017 300XC that is well taken care of, I freaking love those bikes. I was blown away with the 2017 KTM 300XC and the KTM 250XC. So yes, it's a massive monumental upgrade to go from a 2012 300XCW to a 2017 300XC. That's probably the biggest and best upgrade that you could do. And it's cool because now the 2017 is what? Like 7 model years old. So if you can get one, maybe, do some things to it, maybe a new top end. I don't know what it would need. Maybe some wheel bearings and things like that. Some of these like usable, expendable parts. But yeah, pretty freaking cool bike, that 2017 300XC, man. They were awesome. They are awesome. Curtis Moore, do you get into trials bikes? I have 2 trials bikes, but I don't get into it. I just play around on them a little bit here and there. Ben R says, "You're passionate about what you're passionate about. Your content is spot on. Thank you so much." Um, let's see. I've been going for an hour here. See if there's some other interesting stuff. Have you considered doing family enduro series? No. Um, will you do another YZ250F or FX video? Yeah, if I buy one. Let's see. A power upgrade, any power upgrade for the 24 300 yet? Need more snap off the bottom. You can put on a different gearing. The different gearing, like if you gear it down slightly on a 300 XCW, you will get a little bit more snap. You could also do one of these aftermarket heads, like RK Tech has an aftermarket head for it, or an insert for it. And same thing with like the S3, the Slavens S3 head. You can put a little bit higher insert in here. Justin here, still running Amsoil 100 to 1 on the new TBI bike? No. Once I started going to, I'm mixing everything with Motorex now. I don't see any reason why you couldn't run Amsoil at 100 to 1 on the TBI bikes. But I'm running Motorex just to keep it simple across, like, because I've got my son's bike that I'm mixing gas for, and I've got both of my son's bikes that I'm mixing gas for. Now that you know, how to try it, how to try the Amsoil and the TBI bike. But I've been using freaking Motorex now because of the TPI bikes and the TBI bike so much that I got a bunch of cross power 2T. Let's see. Other questions here. Just looking. Do you like tomatoes or not? Rusty says you need to shake things up a bit. Karting, superbike class, driving NASCAR, etc. What about dirt bike camping? That would make for interesting videos, except for I'm not interested in camping on a dirt bike. I did that when I was a kid. I'm not interested in doing that. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to make videos on something I'm not interested in. It just like, yeah, what? So that makes it tricky. Curtis Moore says, I'd watch your archery and firearm videos. You know, it's funny. In the early days, actually, this channel started out as a rifle channel, believe it or not, back in the day. And I changed it to dirt bike channel. I think they're all private now, like the shooting videos, but like people were brutal. And I was like, when I started making dirt bike videos, I'm like, oh, the dirt bike community is so much nicer than the firearm community. And then I've gotten to the point where I'm like, no, the dirt bike community is not nice. There are people within each niche or niche that are not nice. But even when I was super, super small, I'd put out like a shooting video or something, and all the people were telling me all the stuff I was doing wrong, and there was hardly anyone even watching the videos. So I had to like build up an audience on dirt bikes before people were telling me how I was doing everything wrong. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people asking about the tomatoes became a pretty big subject down here. So I'm not sure why. What do you think of the KTM Hard Enduro? It's great. RL, are you going to do some rides with your subscribers? I don't know what you mean by that. Brain Dead went for 2 weeks. Let's see. Other questions here. Dungeon Dragons. Here's one. Mashari says, what 2-stroke dirt bike would you recommend for open desert riding? Not much technical trails. 250XE. That's really easy for me to say. Those are if you're going to go 2-stroke and you're just open desert riding, 250XE is my favorite bike for doing that kind of stuff. Life of American Pie. Do you ever miss riding ATVs? Never once. Never once. It's just not that fun, I don't think. Oh, here's an interesting one. What year of used 300XE do you feel was the best? Well, I'll just tell you what years of 300XEs I think were the best. So 2017 was amazing. 2020 and 2021 and 2022 were amazing. So if I was looking for a used 300XC, I would go um 2020, a 21 or a 22 on the 300XC, and those would be TBI bike or TPI bikes. If I wanted a carbureted one, I would get the 17 or the 18 on a 300XC, and that would be carbureted. So those would be the ones. Okay, I've been going for an hour and 5 minutes. I'm going to cut you guys loose. But yeah, so thanks so much for coming on. Again, go get entered to win the dirt bikes that I'm giving away. There's the 24 300XCW and the 23 250XC. You can grab like hats on my website. You can grab shirts. I'm sending out a text message tonight. That a lot of if you guys are signed up on my text message list, you'll get a text tonight just letting everybody know that we got some tie downs back in stock. These shirts are basically out of stock. They sold super well. I never know quite how much to buy, and so I didn't buy enough of these shirts and they sold out here. So now I've got more on order. More are coming, and so it looks like on my site it's allowing you to buy them on my site, but they will be shipped out once they get printed and delivered at the warehouse. So that's what I got going on. But thanks everybody for coming on here. We still had 100 people on at the end of this after an hour, so that's pretty good. I'm sure it was like people dropping on and off, but truly do thank you guys for all the support. So there was like there's a lot of the reason I'm still doing this is just because of like encouragement from people. There was a guy um, that sent me an email. Here it is. Um, even just last week. I won't share his name, but he said he's been following me since around 2016, and he says you're the main reason I got back into dirt biking after a 20-year hiatus. At the time, you loved the 2017 250XC. Your content helped me to know what to buy, and ultimately, riding has helped me through some incredibly difficult years that unexpectedly followed. The timing of that quite literally helped save my life as it gave me an outlet I desperately needed. There were many lonely tears and prayers laid down on those trails. I've wanted to say thank you for a long time. It may just be YouTube dirt bike videos to some, but to others, it may be pivotal in providing them with something else to focus on or even hang on to. I still have a DBC decal on my number plate in honor. Though I don't know you, I sincerely thank you. So, um, those are the reasons, like those are like the main reasons that I've done this. I didn't do this to, make a ton of money. I haven't made a ton of money. There's a ton of expenses that come along with it. Like all I've really done is tried not to go broke. Um, by going into Dirt Bike Channel and just doing that as my full-time thing. And I don't know how much longer I can do it. I honestly don't. Uh, with the way that I'm feeling, I don't know. I may have to like push it back to part-time, um, and do something else with my time. And so we'll just see. The next couple of months are going to be really kind of critical for what I decide to do going forward. But it's a grind. Like there's just there's no other way to say it. Um, it's a grind. So especially like if you turn your passion into um like an income stream where you have to rely on it, it's really hard not to lose the passion, at least the passion for certain parts of it. And I fought it for a long time. And so we'll just see how the next couple of months go and see how this evolves. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. And I feel like it's pretty safe to like say some of these things an hour into a video because very few people are ever going to see it. There's 100 people seeing it right now, but yeah. So yeah, so go to my website, get entered to win those bikes. There's a contact form on there if you want to reach out to me. It's Kyle@dirtbikechannel.com. That's the best way to get me to as far as just email. If you email Kyle@dirtbikechannel.com, it goes to the same place as that contact form does on my website. So yeah, get your entries in to win the bikes. And yeah, let's everybody have a good day and leave a single track. Thanks everybody.